Network and you not it's gone.
Welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. My name is Hussein. Happy you could be with us. And I hope you were able to be with us today when Father Zechariah was here. Father Zechariah, um, as usual, blew it out of the water. It was amazing. And so it's on my channel. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth seeing. And it was about how Islam was spread by the sword and by uh, battles and stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good night or day, wherever it might be, wherever you are. I know different parts of the world. It's probably morning right now. So anyway, today I wanted to continue on our subject about end time prophecy in light of everything that's going on in the world. I just felt it would be important to talk about this. Before we do, though, I just kind of wanted, I kind of got a crazy idea, and I kind of wanted to see this verse here. I was kind of curious. Yeah, 1971. And this verse is very strange. It says, "And there is none of you but who will not pass." Now, this version says, "Pass over it." This is a decree your Lord must fulfill. And this is that every person, every Muslim, will go to hell. That's what it says. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا أَوْرَدَّهَا. And it's a decree that every Muslim will go to hell. And I was just kind of curious. How the different scholars have how they translate this verse, or how they understand this verse. So I just kind of want to, maybe we could do this together. We can just look at how the different scholars, Islamic scholars, explain this verse. Okay, it's let's go to the commentaries. Okay, start with our man Ibn Kathir, and let's just see what he says. 1971. Now, I know these verses have all been sanitized. Okay. Here is what Ibn Kathir says. He says, "Everyone will be brought to hell. Then the righteous will be saved." Now, it doesn't say nothing about that, about the righteous will be saved. It says everyone will be brought to hell. The bridge over hell is like a sharp-edged sword. I remember hearing that when I was a kid. The first group will pass it like a flash of lightning. The second group will pass it like a wind. The third group will pass like the fastest horse. The fourth group will pass like the fastest cow. Then the rest will pass while angels will be saying, "Oh, Allah, save them, save them, save them." The narration has supporting narrations similar to it. Okay, two Sahihs and other collections as well. So no one who was present at the battles of Badr and Hudaybiyah will enter into hellfire. Then Hafsa said, "Doesn't Allah say, 'There is not one of you who will pass over it'?" The Messenger of Allah said, "Then we shall save those who had taqwa." two Sahih and Hadith reported from Zuhri. Okay, no one of the Muslims who has had 3 children who all died will be touched by hellfire, except for an oath that must be fulfilled. So you see, they got, I mean, it's very clear here that it says there is none of you who will pass over it, it says, but that's not what it says. It says you will come to it, and everyone will be brought to hell, and then the righteous will be saved. It doesn't say nothing about the righteous being saved. So that's Ibn Kathir, you guys. And even here, you see the problem is that Muhammad promised some people, like of the Battle of Badr and the Battle of Hudaybiyah, he said none of them who were present at those battles will go to hell. But then Hafsa said, well, what about the Quran verse that says that everybody's going to go to it? So apparently Hafsa understood that this verse means that every Muslim is going to go to hell. Apparently she understood it that way because she's the one who asked. So, okay, well, that was very interesting. Okay, let's see what Jalalain says about it. Okay. Okay, there is not one of you but shall come to it. That is, but shall enter hell. That is an inevitability already decreed by her. Wow. Jalalain really, he just nails it. He says, there is not one of you but shall come to it. That is, but shall enter hell. That is an inevitability already decreed by the Lord, which he made inevitable and which he decreed. And he decreed that everybody's going to go to hell. So, wow. What kind of a decree is that? It's like, wow. Jalalain really, he really nailed that, man. Wow. There is not one of you but who will. He explains it. He says you go to hell. Wow. Okay, let's look at see what some of the other guys say. See, Ibn Abbas, he was from the time of Muhammad, his cousin. See what he says. Okay. Okay, Ibn Abbas says, there is not one of you but shall approach it. There is not a single one of you, to the exclusion of prophets and messengers, save that he will enter it. Hell. Wow. It's a decree. Wow. Yeah, Jalalain and Ibn Abbas both say that it's a decree that there's not a single one of you but who will go to hell. Wow. Shoot. Those are the two of the big easy guys, Jalalain and Ibn Abbas. And if you look at Ibn Kathir says, it's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth, but he shows different opinions, and the different opinions seem to indicate that everybody's going to go to hell. Okay, let's look at Maududi. Like I said, the reason I like to look at his stuff sometimes is because he's more modern. Most of these guys are from a long time ago. Okay, he doesn't even touch it. Who can blame him? Let me see. Oh, okay. Well, he does talk about it. He says, according to some traditions, to be presented before the confines of hell, means to enter hell. But none of these traditions is authentic. Then this interpretation goes against the Quran and many authentic traditions, which clearly state that the true believers will never be cast into hell. Lexically, also, vurud, being presented unto, is not synonymous with dukhul, causing to enter. Therefore, the correct meaning would be that every human being will be presented before hell. But then, as the next verse clarifies, the pious people will be rescued and transgressors left therein on their knees. So, okay, Al-Maududi is trying to rescue. You can tell he's kind of pulling at straws there, trying to. Let's see Asbab al-Nuzul by Al-Wahidi. Again, super, what? Okay. 19. Oh, shoot. He totally avoided. Well, let's see. Let's see. He's got 66, which is. Okay, he does not have it. Okay. Wisely, he avoided it. Since we got it here, let's just go ahead and see what the other guys say. Just curious. Now, these guys are not as well known, but they are. Okay, this guy doesn't have it here. Let me just see 65, if they will go into 71. Okay, kingship results. Okay. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't mention it. Okay, Jalalain, Kashf al-Asrar, Kashani. Let's look at Kashani. Okay, Kashani doesn't go that far. One goes to Surah 18. Okay, Al-Kushayri. Let's look at Kushayri. A lot of these guys only have done a few surahs. They haven't gone all the way. And Kushayri only has up to 4. Al-Tustari. See how far. Okay, looks like he might have it. Tustari. Now, I'm not familiar with Tustari. Okay, he has also wisely avoided it, but let's look at the closest thing he has, which is verse 76. Okay, he doesn't say nothing about it. But what's very interesting is Ibn Abbas, Jalalain, and Al-Maududi all seem to indicate that this verse means every Muslim is going to go to hell. Every single one. So that's what Quran says, 1971. So very interesting, you guys. And you know what I also want to do is I want to look at some of the commentaries like Qurtubi and just to see what they have to say about this, because now those are written in Arabic. So when it's in Arabic, it hasn't been sanitized quite like the others. So I'm curious to see what they say about that verse, 1971. You guys, you know, my internet is, oh, wow. Yeah, there it goes. My internet's not too good there. So anyway, you know, I just kind of wanted to, like I said, you know, but we're doing things about prophecy. And today I kind of wanted just to look at the prophecies about the third temple. You know, there's several prophecies about, you know, yesterday I spoke about the prophecies about the return of the Jews to Israel. And today, okay, good. I'm glad you, but the only problem is the camera is not working really good, but that's okay. You know, the 3 main prophecies about Israel in the end times. One is about regarding them returning to Israel. Second is about them taking over Jerusalem. Both of those have already been fulfilled. Jesus said that the Jerusalem will be trodden under the feet of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. So that one's kind of about Jerusalem, but there are many other prophecies about Jerusalem as well. For instance, the Zechariah chapter 12, which I showed you yesterday. And but the final one is about the temple itself, about the building of the temple. And there's a lot of references to the temple. Let's the one that really writes about it, the first is Ezekiel. Now Ezekiel, there's a lot of people who would say that this is about a millennial temple, a temple that's going to happen after Jesus returns. Okay, and so let's just look at what it says here in Ezekiel chapter 40, okay, about the temple, okay? And now it says, in the 25th year of exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th of the month, the 14th year after the fall of the city, on the very day the hand of the Lord was on me, and he took me there. See, this is one thing that's interesting about Ezekiel, you guys, is that he always talks about the Lord taking him places and the Spirit of God taking him. He always talks about that in Ezekiel, which is and about the hand of the Lord was on him. He had really unique revelations, and it was so specific, amazing prophecies. In the visions of God, excuse me, you guys, he took me to the land of Israel and set me on a very high mountain, on whose south side were some buildings that looked like a city. He took me there, and I saw a man whose appearance was like bronze. He was standing in the gateway with a linen cord and a measuring rod in his hand. The man said to me, "Son of man, look carefully, okay, and then and tell the people of Israel everything." See, I saw a wall completely surrounding the temple area. The length, okay, he talks about the length. And then I went to the east gate. He climbed its steps and measured the threshold. I measured the portico of the gateway. Inside the east gate were alcoves on each side. Okay, and then it talks about all these measurements. Then it talks about the outer court. He brought me to the outer court. Then I saw some rooms and a pavement that had been constructed all around. Okay, and so there's a south gate and the gates of the inner court, and Ezekiel spends several chapters talking about this temple. Okay, and there's a room for the priests. Then he brought me to the portico of the temple and measured the jambs of the portico. There were 5 cubits on each side. The width of the entrance was 14 cubits. Okay, so and then I'm just kind of curious now that we've looked at chapter 40. This is obviously about an enormous building. Let's look at 41. I'm just curious what 41 says. Okay. The man brought me to the main hall, measured the jambs. Okay. Then he went into the inner sanctuary, measured the jambs. Okay. He measured the wall of the temple. It was 6 cubits thick. I saw the temple that he raised. Okay, 6 cubits. The building facing the temple courtyard on the west side was 70 cubits. Okay, and measured the main hall, the inner sanctuary. Okay, now let's go see 42. It's so interesting, guys, that so much detail is about this temple. Okay, let's look at 42. I believe it's the last chapter here. Rooms for the priests. Okay, this is about the rooms for the priests. He said to me, the north and south. When you finish measuring, okay. to separate the holy from the common. Okay. All right, guys. Those are the Ezekiel chapters. I want to see if there is um, a 43. I don't know if there is. Oh, there is. Okay, God's glory returns to the temple. Okay, then a man brought me to the east gate facing the east, and I saw the glory of the God of Israel coming from the east. His voice was like the roar of the rushing waters, and the land was radiant with his glory. The vision I saw was like the vision I had seen when he came to destroy the city, and like the visions I had seen by the Kebar River, and I fell face down. The glory of the Lord entered the temple through the gate facing east, and the Spirit lifted me up and brought me into the inner court. There, you see, the Spirit, you see, God's always moving him. God's moving him, the Spirit's moving. That's one thing I love about Ezekiel. While the man was standing beside me, I heard somebody speaking to me from inside the temple. It said, "Son of man, this is the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet. This is where I will live among the Israelites forever. People of Israel will never again defile my holy name, neither they nor their kings by their prostitution. Describe the temple to the people of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their sins. Let them consider its perfection. And if they are ashamed of all they have done, make known to them the design of the temple, its arrangements, its exits, its entrances, the whole design and its regulations." Okay, so this is the law of the temple. And then there's the measurements of the altar. Okay, so, okay, at the end of these days, from the 8th day on, the priests are to present burnt offerings and fellowship. Then I will accept you, declares the Lord. So, this is 3 chapters in Ezekiel talking about the temple. Now, Ezekiel was in Babylon. He went into captivity. So he was one of the prophets that was in captivity. He talks about being by the river, the Kebar River, and being there in Babylon. So he was one of the exile prophets. So the temple had already been destroyed. So he's talking about a future temple here. And if you measure this thing, it's not the temple that was built by Ezra. Okay, this isn't the temple that was built by Ezra. This is much bigger than that. So anyway, so Ezekiel is the first person to speak about the temple. Okay, about the new temple. The next one, now this one is Daniel, and it's talking about the Antichrist. Okay, so let's look at Daniel chapter 9. Okay, now Daniel chapter 9 talks about the destruction of the second temple. Okay, so I'll just show you that verse very quickly. And this is the prophecy of the 77s. It says, it says, I'll tell you what Chuck Missler says about this. This is it says that now this is while after the city of Jerusalem had been destroyed the first time. Okay, Jerusalem had been destroyed the first time. Daniel was also one of the exile prophets. He was in exile in Babylon. And the real Gabriel, came to him and gave him this vision. And he told him what's called the 77s. Okay, the prophecy of the 77s, which tells us exactly the day Jesus went to Jerusalem. Phenomenal prophecy. And it says, after 62 sevens, that'll be after 483 years, okay, the anointed one will be put to death and will have nothing. So here, this is after 483 years after this prophecy. It says that the anointed one, that's the Messiah, will be put to death and will have nothing. Okay, and then the people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Now, this is an interesting phrase, the people of the ruler who will come. Who is this ruler who will come? In the King James, it says it differently. It says the prince who will come, but it's the people of the ruler who will come, will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Well, the ruler who will come is believed to be the Antichrist. The people of the ruler, who's the people of the ruler, is believed to be Roman. Okay, he's believed to be a Roman. And who is it who destroyed the city and the sanctuary right after Jesus was crucified, after the Messiah was cut off? That was the Romans. So it was the Romans came and destroyed the city and the sanctuary. We know that happened in 70 AD. Okay, so here Daniel predicted the destruction of the second temple. Okay, so there was the first temple was already destroyed when Daniel made this prophet. When Gabriel came to Daniel, he was in Babylon. So the first one had already been destroyed. Here he's predicting the destruction of the second one that will happen around the same time that the Messiah is killed. Okay, and why? Why do I say it's during the same time? Because it says after the 62 sevens. So all of these events happen like immediately after the 62 sevens. 62 sevens, those of you who know this, the prophecy is about 70 sevens. Okay, and the 77s is 490 years. You know, it's 70 weeks of weeks. I mean, of years, excuse me. 70 weeks of years, meaning 490 years. From the time the prophecy went for, or the command went forth to rebuild Jerusalem, that was around, it was shortly after this prophecy, and the king commanded that the Jews go back and rebuild Jerusalem, rebuild the temple. Cyrus is the one who said to go back and rebuild the temple. And so they went back and rebuilt the temple. We know it's like 483 BC. And exactly 483 years, we know to the day when the command went forth. We know the day the command went forth because it's written and there's records of it. And we know exactly. And there's a guy, his name is Robert Anderson, who wrote a book about this called The Coming Prince. And it's about the Antichrist. He wrote this in the 1800s. And he said that he measured it. And because what's interesting about this 70 weeks is that it's using the Jewish calendar, not the Roman calendar that we use, but the Jewish calendar, which is 360 days a year, not 365 days. And so using that system, he came exactly the day that the command went forth to rebuild Jerusalem to the day Jesus rode on a donkey into Jerusalem. And what's interesting is that the word here for anointed one in the Hebrew is Mashiach Najib, which is the King Messiah. Well, there's only one time where Jesus allowed them to address him as a king. And you remember, and that was on Palm Sunday when, triumphal entry. Well, that was like April 3rd or something on the year 32 AD, which was exactly 483 years to the day from the time that the command went forth to rebuild Jerusalem. So this prophecy is so exact. It is probably the most amazing prophecy in the Bible because you can actually measure it to the day. And remember when Jesus came to Jerusalem during the triumphal entry, what did he say to Jerusalem? He said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the stones of prophet. If only you would have known your day." It was a specific day because in the book of Daniel, he told them about that day. If they had taken time and measured it, they would have known that it was on that day that the Messiah was supposed to come. Okay, but into Jerusalem. But they, So they missed it though. But anyway, it's a phenomenal prophecy. And the book is called The Coming Prince by Robert Anderson, if you want. It's available. Okay. And the people of the ruler will come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. Now, again, this is the second temple, the destruction of the second temple. Okay. But now I want to take you back and let's go look at Daniel. I believe. Okay. 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 Now this is. Let's look at chapter 927. If you look at 927. Okay. Now this. The end will come like a flood. So now, you guys, we got to jump forward because here it talks about the destruction of Jerusalem, but then we got to jump forward 2,000 years, and now it starts talking about the end. Remember, the first part is when the Messiah is put to death and the second temple is destroyed. But now we jump forward 2,000 years, and we're talking now about the end. So Daniel has this gap, and there's many of these in the Bible, many of these gaps where the prophet is speaking, and then all of a sudden, between the two sentences, there's a gap. And for instance, one of the gaps is Jesus spoke it when he read Isaiah in the temple when he was in Nazareth. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to come heal the brokenhearted and to open up the prison doors and to bind up the brokenhearted." And then Jesus closed the book right there. But the verse isn't over. The verse says, "And to declare the year of the Lord's vengeance." But Jesus stopped before he got to that verse. Why? Because there's a gap between healing of the broken hearts and setting captives free and the year of the Lord's vengeance. There's a 2,000-year period between that. And so Jesus closed it before he got to that part of the verse. And this is one of those situations where there's a gap between the end of this sentence and the next sentence. And the gap here is the destruction of the sanctuary. Then he jumps forward 2,000 years and says, the end will come like a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. He, who's the he? This is the prince that it was talking about. The rule in this version, it says ruler, but in the King James, it's a prince. The people of the ruler who will come. Let's talk about the Antichrist. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1/7, for a 7-year period, the Great Tribulation. This is the 70th 7, okay, because 69 had been fulfilled. This is the 70th 7, the tribulation, which is what's written in Revelations chapter 6 through 19. For in the middle of the 7, he, talking about the Antichrist, will put an end to sacrifice and offering, and at the temple. See, there's another temple. You see, the second one has already been destroyed, right? It says he will destroy the city and the sanctuary. It's already been destroyed. But this is talking about another temple, the third temple. And it says, at the temple, he will set up the abomination that causes desolation until the end is decreed. The end that is decreed is poured out on him. So here, Daniel, this is Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, and it's written more than once, but I'm just going to show you this one, okay, where he's predicting the third temple. That's right here. And you guys, what's interesting is when the disciples came to Jesus and they said, what's going to be the sign of your return? The first thing Jesus said is, when you see standing in the holy place the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel. Jesus refers to this prophecy right here. Jesus is referring to this prophecy right here. when he says the abomination that causes desolation, standing in the holy place. What's the holy place? The abomination of desolation is used many times in the book of Daniel. And it's talking about when the Antichrist sets up an image of himself in the temple. And it's described also in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, where the false prophet makes an image of the beast. And so, anyway, but here is the mention of the temple again. Now, this temple is the third temple. The one in verse 24 is the second temple, and it gets destroyed. He will come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. But then there's a third temple, and at that temple, the Antichrist comes to that temple. Okay, so you have Ezekiel and you have Daniel who talk about this third temple. Okay, then we go to Matthew 24. And this in Matthew 24, it says Jesus left the temple. Okay, now this is while there still was the second temple, and was walking away when the disciples came to him. And then Jesus said that not one stone will be left upon another. Okay, and then the disciples say, when will this happen? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Okay, and many of you will be persecuted. And then in verse 15, look what he says. When you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of by the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Okay, guys, this is Jesus telling us, let the reader understand. He knew these words are going to be written down, and he's telling us, understand this. When Jesus tells you, understand this, you better understand it. You better study it. And Daniel spoke about it, and here Jesus is speaking about it. He says, let the reader understand. You know, this is the only time where he says this, where he says, let the reader understand. And it's so interesting. It says, let the reader understand. Jesus says that. Well, it's as if Jesus is speaking to us, those of us who are reading this. You know, it's almost like he's not speaking to the disciples. He's speaking to those of us who are reading this. He says, let the reader understand. He's telling us to understand this prophecy. Okay. But he says the holy place. Now he's talking here about, they asked him what's going to be a sign of the end. And he says, this is the sign of the end. When you see standing in the holy place. Well, the holy place is part of the temple. So that means there's going to be a temple. Okay, so here you have Ezekiel, you had Daniel, and now you have Jesus predicting the third temple. Okay, now let's go also to 2 Thessalonians. Where is it? Okay, sorry. Okay, now what happened here is that a lot of people thought that the end had already come. Okay. Chapter 1, that was chapter 2. Okay, here it is. This is Second Thessalonians chapter 2. It says, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him, we ask you, brothers and sisters, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by the teaching allegedly from us. Okay, guys, this is very interesting. Teaching allegedly from us. Apparently there were people who were writing fake letters and claiming that they were from Paul. Okay, there were these were wolves who were coming in, writing fake letters and saying they were from Paul. And this is teaching allegedly from us, whether by prophecy or by word of mouth or by letter. So people were apparently writing fake letters saying that they're from Paul, and to where the Thessalonians thought, asserting that the day of the Lord has already come. Praetorians, what do they call them? The Praetorians or Praetorists? Just kidding. Asserting that the day of the Lord has already come. Okay? Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness, this is one of the phrases for the Antichrist, is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. He will oppose and exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. So here, he sets himself up in God's temple. So here, Paul is saying that there's going to be this temple. And this is the abomination of desolation. He's talking about he will set himself up in God's temple, sets himself up in God, proclaiming himself to be God. Okay, so here the Antichrist, and here again, here Paul is saying there's going to be a temple. So you had Ezekiel, had Daniel, had Jesus, had Paul. Okay, so, and now I'll take you to the last one. And this is in Revelation. I believe it's 11. Okay, Revelation 11. Okay. Now this is so interesting that this is a theme that you see over and over again. You see it it was all over the place in Ezekiel, the same idea of a measuring reed to measure the temple. I was given a reed, a measuring rod, and told to go measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers, but exclude the outer court. Do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles. I wonder if that's Al-Aqsa, the outer court, been given to the Muslims. I don't know. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months, and I will appoint my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days. Now, you guys, what's interesting is that it talks about this temple, and it talks about this temple for 42 months. This is 3.5 years. 42 months is 3.5 years, which is what Daniel describes in the middle of the 7. That's the middle of the week. And so this seems pretty clear that there is a temple, and there is and it's during the tribulation that there is a temple. Okay, it says, measure the temple of God. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months. And during that time, there'll be the 2 witnesses, the 2 olive trees, okay, that Moses and Elijah, I believe, or, but here it talks about the temple again. And this is the temple of the tribulation time. So you have Ezekiel, Daniel, Jesus, Paul, and John all talk about this temple that's going to be there. And it's going to be like the Antichrist's temple. And yeah, so that's, just to kind of show you that, this is the one prophecy that has not yet been fulfilled. And so let me just show you this video. I've showed it to you before, but okay, this is okay, let me just, I don't know. I haven't seen this one yet, but maybe I will watch this one.
הקורבנות, אף טרם נבנה הבית.
אך איך נדע מהו מקומו המדויק של המזבח?
היא לתת לחם ומים לאנשים הרעבים. ובכלל, איך נבנה את המזבח? הלא תחילה יש לבנות את ההיכל ואת קודש הקודשים.
לא כן, ידידי. כך מקובלני מבית מדרשו של ברוך בן נריה, אותו זכיתי לשמש. חובה גמורה לבנות את המזבח ולחדש את עבודת הקורבנות, אף טרם נבנה הבית.
אך איך נדע מהו מקומו המדויק של המזבח? הלא ההיכל והעזרה נחרבו עד היסוד.
האין בנמצא אף אדם היודע את מקומו המדויק של המזבח?
ייתכן כי חגי איש ירושלים יוכל להיות בעזרנו.
אך לחגי לא נוכל להפריע. יושב ובדד במערתו, לומד ומתפלל.
חייבים ומוכרחים אנו לשאול את עצתו. המבוכה סביב בניין הבית רבה היא, וכן נשאל אותו כמה שאלות יסודיות. ברצוננו לשאול, האם מצוות בניין המקדש מוטלת עלינו, על המעטים שעלו לארץ?
המעטים שעלו לארץ הם שלוחי העם כולו.
אף אני סבור כך. עם כל הענווה לא נוכל לברוח מן האחריות המוטלת עלינו. החלש יאמר גיבור אני.
הלא אתה זרובבל, הנך נצר לבית דוד, ואתה יהושע, הנך נצר למשפחת כהנים גדולים. המצווה לבנות את המקדש, עלינו היא מוטלת.
אולם איך נעשה זאת? ירושלים הרוסה וחרבה, השדות שוממים, אנשים רעבים.
הבעיות הן רבות, אך בניין בית המקדש הוא הפתרון לכולן.
That was from the Temple Institute, but there's another video I wanted to show you.
פה, על שתי הנחלות גם יחד, ייבנה בית המקדש.
בפסגתו של ההר, ליד עין איתם,
I'll show you another one.
שוכנת עיר יבוס. שם הזה
עיקר עבודתנו היא לתת לחם ומים לאנשים הרעבים. ובכלל, איך נבנה את המזבח? הלא תחילה יש לבנות את ההיכל ואת קודש הקודשים.
לא כן, ידידי.
The one that I wanted to
כך מקובלני מבית מדרשו של ברוך.
What does it take to be a Shenyun dancer?
Sorry. This isn't about that. So. Okay. Yeah, so all right, you guys. Well, that was kind of the focus today. I just want to talk a little bit about the rebuilding the temple. That was the third prophecy that has not yet been fulfilled. And but we went to the Temple Institute when we were in Jerusalem, and we saw it. And I don't know. It looks like they're planning stuff. So anyway, all right. Well, yeah. There's no. I don't know where our friend Salahuddin Alauddin is. You know, I'm pretty sure that's Alauddin, or Muhammad Saeed. It's like none of them showed up today, so maybe we'll go ahead and cut it short because we did another one today also with Father Zechariah. Plus, we've been on for 51 minutes, so that's pretty good. Or Elias, I don't know. Do you think it's Elias? Yeah, Elias didn't come on today either, so didn't have any of our usuals. So, oh, he was here. Elias, where are you, man? I don't see Elias. Mimi. Okay. Well, I know that, you know what? Sometimes this stuff sometimes is Tiger. Good to see you, Tiger. Okay. I didn't see Elias. I don't see him. Oh, Salahuddin was here, you guys. He says, leave off all the sided issues and focus on the main one. Like you believe in the logical problem of the Trinity, you worship a human God. Salahuddin, you talk very intelligently. You know how to spell my name correctly, which is amazing because almost everybody spells it with two S's. But you should come on, man. You shouldn't be afraid. If you really believe what you're saying, you're not just you know, if you really believe what you're saying, then you should come on. Okay, guys. So here was Salahuddin, and I was kind of hoping he would be brave and come on and debate me. We could debate that particular subject that you mentioned, Salahuddin, that we worship a human God, kind of like what the Quran says. Come on, Salahuddin. Here, I'll put an invite for you. If you want to come on, we welcome you. If you want to come on, Salahuddin. You guys, please leave this invite for Salahuddin if he wants to come on. It's so funny, you know, about Salahuddin. He comes on for 3 nights in a row. He's come on. He makes one comment and then he runs away. You know, I'm not saying he's scared or anything. I kind of get a feeling it's Alauddin. So Alauddin used to always come when Amor Ray was here. He started calling him Twister because he twists things. So Sean accepted. It'd be woohoo. Anthony dared someone in his stream to a debate earlier. Sean accepted. It'll be on Marlon's channel, I think. Okay, cool. If you get the link, please share it with us so we can watch it. Salahuddin, you worship Vigo. Well, he's the best of deceivers. You know, if we want to look at the beautiful names of Allah, you know, according to the Quran, you know, you know, these beautiful names of Allah are in the Quran, they're mentioned in the Quran. But what's interesting is that they change like 28 of them because they didn't, there was so many complaints about the some of them because they weren't that beautiful. And so they changed some of them. They changed 28 of them. Al-Azhar University did this. And I did a live stream about this. But here's some verses. It says, to Allah belong the best name, so invoke him by them. There's no deity, to him belong the best names. He is Allah, the creator, fashioner, to him belong the best names. So there's 3 verses here in the Quran that talk about his beautiful names. And then the hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari says, Allah has 99 names, 100 minus 1. So here are some of them. Ar-Rahman, okay, which means the merciful. Rahim, which is compassionate. Malik, which means king. Quddus means holy. Salam, boy, where did he get these names from? El-Mu'min. Mu'min means a believer. It doesn't give security. It means he's a believer. El-Muhaymin, the one who's controlling, the controller. Aziz means the dear one. Jabbar, the gigantic one. Mutakabbir, the boastful, arrogant one. It's not supreme like it says here. El-Khaliq means the creator. Okay. Al-Qahar, the one who forces, the dominating. Al-Qahar means the one who forces you, Fattah al-Razzaq, okay. Okay. I'm trying to see if it has, wow. Al-Mudhil, Al-Mudhil, that means the one who deceives, the one who misleads you. That's one of his beautiful names, 25. It's the one who misleads, Al-Mudhil. Let me see. Okay. I'm actually looking for the ones. The one that I was looking for is Al-Shaheed. What? He's a Shaheed means the
He's a martyr.
martyr. Huh? Al-Wakil. Okay. Al-Mumit, the one who kills. Al-Mumit, the one who kills, puts to death. Al-Majid. Okay. Al-Wahid. You know what? They replaced Al-Ahad. Ahad does not mean the only one. Al-Ahad means one of. You see, they changed some of these. Samad, okay, which was a solid one. I'm wondering, Al-Awwal, Al-Akhir, the first and the last. Where did you get that name from? The first and the last. Muntaqim, the Avenger. I was kind of wondering if there's going to have the you see the Dar, that means the one who, the harmful one, the one who harms. That's his name, Al-Dar, the harmful one, the one who hurts you. Okay, it doesn't have El Makir, best of deceivers. You see, because these have been changed, so we don't have the ancient ones. I wish we had that list from the ancient ones so that we could show you El Makir and El Mudil. But it does have El Mudil, which is the misleader, the one who misleads you. So, okay. Well, all right, you guys. Doesn't look like our friend wants to come on, so I appreciate you guys being with us. We've been on for exactly an hour. Oh, yeah, it did freeze. It did freeze because my camera is very weak. So I'm having problems with this computer. So thank you guys for being with us. If you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus help me. Jesus forgive me. Jesus come into my heart. يسوع ساعدني. يسوع سامحني. يسوع ادخل قلبي. He loves you. We love you. And
if you have ever wondered why dull apologists lie so much, it's because on a rare occasion that they tell the truth, this happens.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. I'll be honest with you. And now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense.
You're going to have to... That the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what